Hey there, guys. Welcome back to the channel. So, I recently wrapped up watching the fourth episode of season two of The Last of Us, and I will say that I really enjoy this episode. It's still not one of the best. It still has some a little small cringy moments, which I will get into very soon. So, in case you haven't wondered, that video is a spoiler-heavy review. If you have not been caught up on The Last of Us season two and you haven't watched the latest episode, be sure to watch it. Add this video to your favorites list and come back later after you're done watching the episode. So, be aware, you have been warned. So we get into this fourth episode with Jeffrey Wright's character named Isaac, and you get into the origin story of how he forms his own little like a squad called the WLF, called the Wolves. He was originally a Fedra, and he really survived before the world had fallen apart. And he's following these soldiers that had nothing, who had no knowledge of the world before, and they're a bunch of assholes. And guess what? Who made a cameo? Josh freaking Peck. I was almost taken out of it for a moment. I was like, oh God. I was a little bit worried that the episode was going to be very bad and very cringy. And I'm personally, I was not a fan of the Josh Peck cameo. I felt like that they kind of forced him in this episode, felt very out of place. And I'm a big fan of Josh Peck. I loved him in a lot of stuff, like Drake and Josh, for instance. And he's a cool guy on his own podcast. But I just didn't think he quite fit the role in this world of drama. I felt like it was kind of forced in. But anyway, getting into this one, when Jeffrey Wright started talking about the citizen voters have been taking their rights away, that's where it really started to pick up. And at first, when he meets up with these group of people who are citizens, he completely betrays his own people by taking the frag grenade and blows up one of his own people because he knows he's been betrayed by his own people because he's not liking how they are so power hungry. And that's was the origin story of Jeffrey Wright's character named Isaac, which you do meet him in The Last of Us Part 2. But I really love the casting choice with Jeffrey Wright's character. I even love the torture scene when we get into the present day time in the kitchen when he's torturing one of the Sephiroths, who are, I think they're called the Scars, but they're called Sephiroths, and they're at war with one another. And he's trying to interrogate him of where a place, where is it going to be another location up for their next attack against the wolves. And I love the scene where when one of the Sephiroths, the one getting tortured, he tells him that you're gonna lose, even though that you have all the weapons and all the supplies you have. They're gonna be the force to be reckoned with. And Isaac recognizes it, and he knows that there's gonna be hell to pay. And when you see Isaac, you start to see in the present day time that he has now higher power, and he's no different than the Fedra. He's no different from them, and it just shows the whole recycling of the whole thing. But now we get into Dena and Ellie going to Seattle day one. And I will say I like this part a lot more. I love the changes, that it's much more better pacing than we saw in The Last of Us Part 2. Because in The Last of Us Part 2, we do explore Seattle, but the gaming session kind of felt boring and dull, and I was like, let's get to the point. But this one, I felt like it was very well constructive and very well pacing. But and because there was not a lot of stuff going on in Seattle as much in the game. I mean, it was a very slow pace and a very slow burn, but there was a lot of changes they made in the game that is much more quicker. And we get into the music shop with Ellie playing the guitar and playing Take Me On, and she was able to learn how to play guitar from Joel, if that according to Ellie. And that shot and the scene itself was so touching. It was coming straight out of the game. And Bella Ramsey, say what you want about her as an actress, but she can really sing and she knows how to play the guitar in real life. So that was not like ADR, it was not dubbed over, and it was so good. And Dina, played by Isabella Marcet, she is a freaking star. She is winning me over every time I see her. I really love her character. She's becoming one of my favorite characters on that show because I didn't really like Dina in the game, but in this one, I feel like Isabella Marcet put on a very convincing performance. That the scene was very believable and it was very authentic the way that she was seeing with Ellie playing the guitar and playing "Take Me On," because she still wasn't so sure how she feels about Ellie, whether she likes her as a friend or maybe more than that. But we as fans know that she has strong feelings for Ellie, and the performance herself when she was hearing that song from Ellie, she cried in tears with no dialogue, and you believe it. And that really hits hard. And that's when she knew that she was in love with Ellie. And I thought that scene was so convincing and so believable. I loved it. It was my favorite part of the episode. It was coming straight out of the video game. If you watch the comparison between the two from the game and the episode of the show, It's spot on. Bella Ramsey did a spot on for that, and I'll give her credit where it's due. Then they later sneak in at night to get in, infiltrate the wolves, and you see a bunch of dead corpse hung on the rope with their insides and their intestines get torn off by the Sephiroth. And you see the blood sign on that wall that Ellie was staring at. It was called "Feel Her Love," which I basically it's supposed to be the leader of the Sephiroth of the scars. But they didn't use any of those those prosthetic dummies to hang on the rope. They use real body double. They use real body double to make this scene a little bit more real and authentic. And it was a great convincing of the performance. And they used practical. They didn't use any CGI. They didn't use any of those fake body doubles. They used real stunt people to make this more realistic. Ellie and Dina are getting caught by the wolves, and they have to sneak out and do their stealth. And I love how they were able that Ellie was able to take out one of the wolves in a stealth mode, but she was not able to do that on her own. Dina was able to come to assist. Then we get into the train in the debris. Oh my God, that train sequence when they're getting chased by the runners and clickers, a bunch of them. I mean, we don't see that quite often that we did in season one. Now we're seeing a lot more than season two, and it's way more action oriented and well choreographed. None of that was done in CGI, and I love that moment when Dina was counting down of when the clickers and runners are about to show up at any moment, and it caused a big distraction against the wolves, and it killed a lot of them. And that sequence was so intense, it put me on the edge of my seat. I felt so claustrophobic. And then when they're about to get away and they're caught in a doorway at the subway station, Ellie puts her arm out and has them bite them so that Dina can get through. But she knew damn well that once she gets bit, she knows she can't get infected because we already know she's immune to the infection. And Dina, that performance herself, when catches her getting bit, she pulls her gun out and she starts to have to come to a tough decision to whether she should blow her brains out and because she knows she got bit. But Ellie had to come clean. She had to come clean to let her know that no, I'm not infected. I'm immune. And she is not so sure if she believes her. So they had to wait a while for at least a few hours, and she had to give her and she had to have her give her time and be separate. And I thought that scene was so believable, and you see the believability in Dina's Isabella Marcet's performance, that she looks like she's not so sure whether she should kill her or not. And that performance itself was so good. I love Dina more and more I see her, and she confesses that she is pregnant because they definitely foreshadow it when they were at the pharmacy, and she tells her that she has to pee. And we as fans know that even if you haven't played the game, you know she's pregnant, and she's pregnant with Jesse. And it happened during the time when they were separated for a few months when Ellie was recovering from her injuries for a few months at that back in Jackson. And I see that they do have a love scene, and I knew that was going to come eventually. It did happen early on in the game, but until before they did that whole baiting switch in the second episode. But this one, they actually have a love scene, and I don't care what anybody else says. I think the love scene between Dina and Ellie was no more convincing. The chemistry was starting to feel more natural and more believable. I don't care what anybody else says. I thought it really worked for me. And Dina just tells Ellie about her sexuality and confessing to her parents that she's bisexual. And her mom says, "No, you like boys." And she had that struggle all of her life. And she does really care about Jesse, but he's not the one for her. And she wanted to find someone who truly does get her. And it turns out it was Ellie. And the one line delivery from Bella Ramsey saying, "I'm gonna be a dad," I was like, I didn't know if I really bought that. That felt very forced. But anyway, it didn't bother me. It's not a make or break. All three of them, Jesse, Ellie, and Dina, are about to have a baby together. And how they're going to turn out, I don't want to get way ahead of myself because I already know how it turns out in the game. but we don't know how much they're going to change. But now there's an explosion going on, and there's a war zone going on with the wolves and the Sephiroths. We know that there's going to be an attack going on, and it ends the episode. But Ellie tries to get her to stay where she is because she's pregnant and things are different, and she wanted to go out on her own. But Dena's like, no, we're ride or die. I'm in all the way. Because you got to remember, she still wants to get her revenge for what happened to Joel. Because she was close with Joel too. Ellie was not the only one, but she's in all the way through. The one little nitpick that I will say that these two characters felt very clean before they get dripped on in the rain and get all dirty and filthy. Because when you're traveling in an apocalyptic world, you're not going to have time to clean up and look too good. They look way too good and way too clean, and it really was not as believable as I was hoping for. Because if you watch The Walking Dead, comparing to that, when they're going across country, they're all sweaty and filthy. They don't have time to shower and clean up and look good. Well, it almost took me out of it a bit, but I gotta suspend my disbelief and not overthink it too much. My prediction for we're only in like 3 episodes left, and my prediction is that I don't think we'll see Abby until season 3. Because you got to remember, Neil Druckmann and Craig Mason said that they're splitting into 2 seasons of the same storyline from The Last of Us Part 2, the game. So my guess is that in the last 3 episodes, maybe in the last 2, or maybe the finale, we will indeed get a flashback sequences with Joel and Ellie, because this is not going to be the last time we see a Joel in the show. There's going to be a flashback. It happened in the game, and it's going to happen here, and we're going to see the full context of everything that went down prior to the present day time, and we're going to see the confession when he comes clean to Ellie of what he really done back in Seattle and with the fireflies and all. And I feel like that's going to happen in the finale, and that's where the episode ends, because they're going to do something similar to what they did in the finale when she asks him that you swore that everything you said about the fireflies is true, and he says yes, and it ends the episode just like they did in the first game. And I feel like in the finale we're going to see him coming clean, and she's going to be pissed at him, and I feel like that's where the episode ends. And by the time we get to season 3, I think we're going to see more Abby as the main character in season 3 and showing a different angle from her point of view. Because when you look back on The Last of Us Part 2, they did 2 different storylines, one with Ellie, and then they cut back to Abby and showing from her perspective, which I thought that really didn't work for me. I feel like it was just jumping to Abby, and it felt like we spent too much time with her for a character that I disliked so much. But I get why they did it. But at the end of the day, I really enjoy this episode, and I'm really excited for the next one. I'm not going to say that this episode is one of the greatest, but anyway, what did you think of the 4th episode of The Last of Us Season 2? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like this review, make sure you hit that like button. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you know when my videos are up. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to follow my social media platforms, the link tree would be down in the description down below. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for more of my content.